So the first thing we need to do before we sculpt this is just to double check to make sure there's no errors and that everything is hunky-dory. One thing that we're not going to need is this hair when we go into Mudbox, because we did the hair in here, or you would have done your hair in here. I didn't really go any further because his hair was perfect as it was, clearly. So I'm going to grab all the hair pieces here, and I'm just going to put those on another layer, and I'll just call those hair. Okay. And I'm going to turn that off so we don't have that anymore. And then I'm also going to make, oops, not that, sorry. I'm also going to make another layer for things that I'm not going to bring into Mudbox. So in this case, it will be his claws here because I'm not really going to paint on those. So if you had if they have like a gun or they have a watch or something you're not bringing in there that maybe you're going to make it separately or it doesn't need it to be in there. This in particular would be difficult too because it kind of goes in his hands and it's between his fingers. That'd be difficult to paint in there. So I would probably just do that separately anyhow. So anything that's going to be like that, I would just grab all of those items. I'm just going to do this real quick too. And that way we can grab both of these things. So I'm going to grab his claws and we'll just make another one. And I'm just going to call this accessories. Did I spell it? I don't know if there's 2 C's and 2 S's. Good enough for me. All right, and I'll turn that off too. Okay. So now all we're left with is just the basic bare bones of our actual dude and or dudette. Okay. So that should be fine. What might be helpful too is I'm going to grab everything. This actually doesn't matter, but we're going to do it anyway. I'm going to grab all of it, and we're just going to go to Mesh Display, and we'll just do Soften Edge, and that way there's no hard edges, just to help make it obvious that there isn't any issues. I'm going to select the individual pieces here, so I'll just grab this. I'm going to Shift-I, I'll hit 3, and I'm just going to look to see if I see anything where like something isn't snapped or there's an edge or any kind of incongruencies, anything that might show up as an error. And I don't see anything. I'm going to make sure I look at the wireframe as well. Okay, looks good. All right, then I'm just going to go back and hit 1 again. We'll look at this one, hit 3, and I'll hit Shift-I again just to isolate, make sure there isn't anything in there that would cause any issues. Don't see anything, hit 1, select nothing, hit Shift-I. And I'm just going to basically just check and see if there's any major obvious errors that I need to fix. And I don't see anything offhand. So just I hit 1, and I'm sure the boots are fine. Okay, so just go through, inspect, make sure there's no issues as best as you can. Okay, once you know that, just go ahead and save it. Okay, 13. And now what we're going to want to do is export this out into Mudbox. So, yeah, so we're going to do, so I'm just going to grab all of it, like so, and we're just going to do File, Export Selection, and we're going to export it out with nothing here, OBJ Export, and we'll just say to Mudbox for final sculpt texture. So we both things, okay? And do I want to do groups? Nah. Okay, we'll hit export selection. All right. Now what I'm going to do is open up Mudbox and bring it in. Now, more than likely, there's going to be some issues, but when it points them out, then I'll go and look for them. So I'm just going to do File, and we'll do, we'll probably just do Open, actually. And I'm going to navigate to my project folder, to Scenes, and to Mudbox for Final Sculpt Texture, and we'll hit Open. And you can see high valence vertex. That's probably from the eyes. So we'll say keep all. Yeah, it's from the eyes. Which I knew that would happen, and I don't really care. Oh, wait a minute. Is that from the eyes? Hang on. It also treated it all as a single piece, which I would rather not do. So I think what I'm going to do is, because it's harder if it brings it all in one piece, because then when I go to do stuff, it's hard to select one versus the other. Like, they'll kind of compete with each other. So that makes it kind of difficult if you only want to do sculpt on one piece versus another. So we're going to say, forget that, and I am going to make some adjustments. Also, notice that the one eye is visible and the other one is not. And the reason for that is that one is probably inside. So one of the things by default is that Mudbox is single-sided. meaning like if I go inside this, you'll see you can only see you'll see through it. So it's almost more like a video game. Maya by default is single-sided, but you'll notice when I go inside, it's black. It'll show like the back faces show up as black. So that's probably what's going on with the eyes here. So I'm just going to look at this one. I'm going to go to the outliner, and so if you look, see the scale is -4 on the scale here. So I need to fix that. So if I freeze the transforms, and we delete history and everything, that should hopefully help. So I'm going to grab everything together. We're going to go modify, freeze transformations. That'll zero that all out. I'm going to select this eye specifically because that wasn't showing up correctly. And we're going to go to the attribute editors, which is Control A or Command A on a whatever. And you can also just click that. It's also the same thing. Render stats. And let's do double-sided. Let's turn that off. Okay, it looks like that's fine. I just want to make sure that that was okay. Take you out. Let's take you out. So we'll do that. We'll freeze transform, do everything again, and I'm going to do edit, delete all by type, history. Okay. And so what I want to do now is basically just export this out so that we have all the pieces intact, because that'll make things a little bit easier for me. So to export it out all as one group, I could export out each piece individually and then import each individually inside of there. That's one way of doing it, but that'd be kind of annoying. So what I'm going to do instead is this. I'm going to grab everything here, and you can see their problem is that some of them are in groups and things, and these transforms and stuff. So we're going to grab everything. I'm going to hit Shift-P, which is unparent. All right, so I'll just make sure that everything, I'll hit Shift-P a couple times, just to make sure that everything is unparented from a group. And then what we're going to do is all these groups, which you can see in these areas here, like it says Group 1, and then these are also groups. So they're old transforms from when we either combine objects or separate objects, things like that. I'm going to get rid of all these extra groups. So just delete anything that's extra group. Keep an eye over here to make sure that nothing's getting deleted. If you don't delete the history, this will actually affect it, and you could potentially mess your model up. So you want to make sure that that history is in fact deleted. Okay. So that looks fine. This is actually, I think, the sculpt, which I don't want. So you should just be able to grab all of these items. We're going to do File, Export Selection. And this time, we had this off, do Groups On, and then do 2 Mudbox for Final Sculpt Texture. And then hit Export Selection. And then, yes, we want to replace it. We're going to go here. Let's do File, New Scene first. Don't save. And then I'll just do, actually, I can just click on it again because it's the same thing. But you can just do File, Open, hit Keep All. And voila. Now you'll see that these are all of our pieces. I don't know what Cube 9 is. Oh, it's these guys. That's annoying. It might even be worth it to put some of them in groups because these little buckle things, I don't really care so much. I also should have named them. That would have made things a little bit easier so I know what they are. Because right now they are just these pieces. See, some of this is a little bit more difficult. Let me see. Boom, 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 boom. Okay. So I got some more stuff in there that I didn't really want to have in there, but that's fine. Okay. So now they are indeed in pieces. I'm just on the object list part. And you can see that we're getting, I'm not sure why this one's giving me the valence electrons, or valence electrons. There's some science for you. I'm not sure why this one's giving me the vertex valence thing. But I'm just going to do this. So if you do, that isn't that big of a deal. So I'll hit W and hit the wireframe. You can see why that's happening. It's just saying there's a major pull here. I don't really care about that. So it's not going to hurt it. And the eye, I'm not sculpting at all. If you have it in some other spots, you would want to fix that. Go back here. Go back here. Fix whatever the issue is, right? And you could do the things like we did before where you do the mesh, you do cleanup, and do these settings. You could also just look at it and then you might have to delete and replace and things like that. If you get stuck and you can't figure it out, just email me the model, and then I will, and maybe describe the problem, and then hopefully I can fix it as well. Mine doesn't really have any of those issues. But I don't want to see this, so to do that, I'm just going to go to mesh, display, and we're going to go mesh errors, and we're going to turn that off, because I don't really need that, okay? So I should be able to sculpt everything, and we should be able to subdivide the pieces as well. Oops, that was not what I meant. How did I click on that? It's weird. Okay. But for all intents and purposes, we should be good to go. And if I should be, what am I oh, that's what I'm subdividing. Oh, good. I needed to subdivide that. Okay. So for all intents and purposes, that would be better. I would also name them all. I obviously didn't do that here. But I guess I could rename them here. That would be fine. Anyway, so I might rename these just so that I know what they are. Yeah, so now the character's in and ready to be sculpted. Okay, so we will see you in the next one where I'll kind of cover some of the stuff and some of the tools here a little more in depth than last time.